Asking him anything is pointless. He is merely an old-timer who has stolen a paycheck and done nothing for the company. Young staff members who didn't know me gave me the cold shoulder when I returned to the corporate office after working in a small branch. In the end, I had to go with one of them to a customer meeting so I could pretend to learn from him. But I was thrown out as a paycheck thief. The woman seated across from me at the conference, with her exquisite features and remarkable physique, was bridging the gap between us in spite of what the young employee had said. "Hey, how about we do it together?" she then proposed. 6 years later, I, Thomas, was back at Longfield Pharmaceuticals headquarters. I braced myself as I stood in front of the headquarters building's sales department room, which I hadn't seen in a long time, and then I opened the door. As expected, the faces within have changed drastically during the last 6 years. All but one of my coworkers who had competed with me in sales, as well as the manager Henry, who had graciously mentored me, were gone. "Hi, Thomas. It's been a while." Mike, my coworker and current manager of the sales department, was the one who was smiling at me. "I was shocked to learn that you would be returning. I'd assumed that after being demoted, you would live out the rest of your days in that local branch. For a recent high school graduate like you, it seemed appropriate." Mike looked at me mockingly, and I snapped. At that moment, a woman came up and called out, "Mike," in a lovely voice. After connecting her arm with Mike's and applying pressure, she turned to face me. "Is that Thomas, I wonder? It's been a while. You still have the same unimpressive appearance." "Well, it makes sense given that you were demoted to a local branch." Emily gave a malevolent laugh. I gave her an internal sigh. Considering that she was the woman I had previously thought about marrying, I was disappointed. Emily and I had been dating for 6 years. She was employed in the headquarters sales department as a temporary sales clerk. She was renowned for her extraordinary beauty and kindness, and I felt so fortunate that she had picked me. After a year of dating, Emily asked me to come over to her house one day. I met her brother and parents there. Since she introduced me to her family, I assumed she could be thinking about getting married. I began thinking seriously about marrying Emily after that day. I then got a transfer order, though. I was moved to a small branch from the headquarters. When I heard this, I braced myself. I invited Emily out on a date after the notice of the job move was sent out. I asked her to marry me there. "Will you accompany me and marry me? There you can probably get work as a sales clerk as well." Emily, however, gave a chilly look in return. "What are you discussing? Why should I accompany a demoted individual? Even as a high school graduate, you were good at sales and liked by Henry and other coworkers, so I thought you had a bright future. However, I was mistaken. Someone without a future is not someone I can be with." "Wait, Emily, this transfer isn't a demotion." "How couldn't it be? You're going to some backwater branch. If you can't even understand that, you really are just a dumb high school graduate." She sighed in exasperation and disappeared. I had thought we loved each other, but her cold truth made me break down in tears. Later, I heard through the grapevine that Mike, who had been promoted to manager, was dating Emily. It made sense that she would choose him, given her disdain for what she considered my demotion. "Hey, are you listening, Thomas?" Mike's scolding brought me back to the present. I had been lost in thought, reminiscing about Emily. "It looks like you became useless at the local branch. Oh well. Hey, Andy." At Mike's call, a man quickly responded with a yes and rushed over. "Thomas, this is Andy. He's young, but has great sales records, and I have high hopes for him. Learn the ropes of sales from him." I couldn't help but widen my eyes. I've been working as a salesman for nearly 10 years since joining the company. I wanted to argue that I didn't need any guidance, but Mike quickly walked away, arm in arm with Emily. There's no helping it. Even though we were peers, Mike was now my boss. I couldn't go against what he said. "Pleased to meet you. I'm Thomas." I extended my right hand for a handshake, but Andy didn't offer his in return and lazily scratched his head. "I've heard about you from Mike. You're just a high school graduate and come from a single-parent household, right? Quite a difference from Mike, who graduated from a prestigious university and whose parents run a hospital. And Emily was your girlfriend, huh? How pathetic to have even your girl taken away. Look, even though I haven't been at headquarters for 6 years, I'm still your senior. Could you at least use some respect? Are you for real? Respect is for people you admire, right? I'm not going to respect an old, useless paycheck thief just because he's older. What should I respect about you? Andy laughed derisively. I didn't even feel anger. I was just appalled, wondering what kind of training Mike was giving his subordinates. Well, since Mike asked me to, I'll be your mentor, though. Come on, let's get moving. Well, by the way, could you tell me which company we're visiting? Harbor Corporation. Heard of it? Yes, it's a pharmaceutical wholesale company that's been rapidly growing since it was founded 2 years ago, right? Well, though you were exiled to the boondocks, you can keep up, huh? We're just making a courtesy call. I've tried several times, but the person in charge is the CEO's daughter, and she refuses to make any deals. Honestly, I think it's a waste of time, but we never know when she might change her mind, so we have to keep in touch. As I followed him, who walked sluggishly, I couldn't help but worry a bit. Is he really the high-achieving salesman Mike respects so much? After a 30-minute train ride and a 10-minute walk, we arrived at Harbor Corporation's headquarters. We were guided to a meeting room on the 7th floor by the receptionist. After a while, the woman in charge appeared. With her refined features, she glanced at Andy and me with a stern look, then sat down on the sofa in front of us. Andy put on a fake smile that almost seemed like he would rub his hands together. Good day, Lily. It's a lovely day, isn't it? Andy, who is this? I haven't seen him before. Lily interrupted Andy and looked at me. Oh, this is Thomas. He just got assigned to the sales department today. I see. I'm Lily. I'm a medical sales representative. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. We exchanged business cards. Andy continued talking, almost cutting between me and Lily. Well, don't worry about him, Lily. You look as lovely as ever. Are you using any of the highly effective supplements you handle? That's unnecessary. More importantly, what's the status on the price reduction of this drug? I've repeatedly said we won't sign a contract unless it's resolved. How long do you plan to delay your response? Oh, about that, we're still discussing it with the higher-ups. It's been over a month, she sighed and glanced at me. My heart skipped a beat. Thomas, do you have any ideas? The drug your company wants to sell is more expensive than similar ones from other companies. We need you to lower the price. Lily pointed to the drug in the documents she had received from Andy. I stared at it. This drug was developed by our company 6 months ago. Clinical trials showed it to be twice as effective as other drugs, so we priced it a bit higher. Do you still find it expensive? She nodded. I placed my hand on my chin and pondered over the documents. Andy, standing next to me, sneered. Lily, it's pointless to ask him anything. He's an old-timer who's done nothing but steal a paycheck. Andy, be quiet. Her sharp reprimand made Andy shrink back and close his mouth. In the meantime, I gathered my thoughts. In that case, we'll lower the price of this drug to what your company wants. What? Thomas, what are you saying? What authority do you have to make such decisions? In return, after starting the sales of this drug, if customer satisfaction increases by 10%, will you agree to purchase our next drug at our proposed price? Of course, we promise not to set an unreasonable price. Lily raised an eyebrow at my words. You have that much confidence in this drug? Yes, Lily, I replied. We stared at each other, but it was Lily who gave in. She laughed softly, covering her mouth. All right, I'll go along with that for now. Let's sign the contract for this drug. We signed the sales contract with a pleased Lily. During this, Andy stared at me in bewilderment. Lily turned a cold gaze toward Andy. Andy, aren't you the real paycheck thief here? You always come to see me, smile, and flatter me, but never offer any proposals. From the start, you had given up on securing a contract with us, hadn't you? Caught off guard, Andy stammered, "Oh. Well, Thomas proposed a mutually agreeable solution for both our companies. If he becomes our contact, I have no issue signing a contract with your company." "Really? I'll speak with the higher-ups about it." "Yes, please do." She smiled gently at Andy, who blushed bright red in response. "Well then, we'll be on our way," I said, hurriedly trying to pull the beet-red Andy away. "Wait, I still need to talk to Thomas. Could you stay a little longer?" "Oh, sure. I don't mind." I was surprised, but decided to stay as Lily requested and let Andy leave first. Once Andy was out of sight, she closed the meeting room door and flashed a broad smile at me. "As expected, Thomas. I knew my instincts were right about you." She chuckled softly as she closed the distance between us. Her breath brushed against my neck, and my cheeks instantly grew hot. "Do you remember last year's training session you attended to understand the work of pharmaceutical wholesalers, right? Meeting you there allowed me to learn a lot." "Yeah, I learned a lot from that training session too." "Right, but Thomas, it's such a waste for you to work under someone like that, even though you've made it back to headquarters. How about joining our company? I can help you fully realize your potential." I tried to back away from her as she kept closing in, but my back hit the wall. Now there was virtually no distance between us. Her figure was outstanding, and her chest pressed against me. Seeing the amused look on her face, it was clearly intentional. My heart felt like it would explode. Ever since the training session, she had been trying to recruit me to her company, but I had consistently refused. I thought she would have given up after a year, but it seemed she hadn't. "I'm not planning to leave this company," I managed to say, suppressing my rapidly beating heart. She looked disappointed and stepped back. "I see. Well, I won't give up." After giving me a bewitching smile, she left the meeting room. Exhausted, I collapsed on the spot. My heart was still pounding, and my body was still hot. After regaining my composure, I returned to the office. Immediately, the sales department staff swarmed around me. "Thomas, that's amazing. I heard you managed to secure a deal with Lily, the CEO's daughter of Harbor. They said she was unapproachable. She rejected every proposal, and honestly, even Mike had given up. In the morning, they barely acknowledged me, but now everyone was looking at me with admiration." As I wondered what was going on, I made eye contact with Andy. "I spread the word about your success story, Thomas," he said, giving me a thumbs up. Somehow, he had started using polite language. Does this mean I've finally earned his respect? Just then, I felt a burning gaze and turned around. Mike and Emily were glaring at me with bitter expressions. A few days later, I found myself at a bar with Lily. She had invited me. When I arrived, she was already there, and she smiled and waved me over when our eyes met. My heart raced as I sat next to her. "Let's toast to our reunion." Lily lightly clinked her glass against mine. After taking a few sips of her cocktail, she let out a long breath. "Thomas, why did you turn down my offer?" "Don't you like my company?" she asked, tilting her head and looking up at me with a slightly sad expression. I felt a pang in my chest. "It's not that. I know your company is great, and I'm grateful that you think so highly of me. But Mr. Johnson, the president of my current company, took me in despite being a high school graduate. I owe him a lot, and I want to repay that debt." "I see." Lily pouted and took another sip of her cocktail. "But it's thanks to you that I no longer feel ashamed of being a high school graduate." Lily tilted her head in curiosity. During the first day of the training session I attended last year, there was a time for participants to introduce themselves. Since the first person mentioned their name, company, department, and university, everyone else followed it. This made me incredibly anxious. I knew that if I introduced myself as a high school graduate, I would be laughed at. It had always been that way. I was the last to introduce myself. I'd hoped that at least one other person would be a high school graduate, but of course there wasn't. And then my turn came. I'm Thomas. I work in sales at Longfield Pharmaceuticals branch. I didn't attend university. I graduated from high school. I knew I'd be ridiculed, but lying would be wrong, so I told the truth. Everyone's expressions changed immediately. Some openly laughed, saying, "Really? A high school graduate?" I regretted not keeping quiet. I clenched my fists and bit my lip, ready to look down. But then you said, "Why is everyone laughing?" Being a high school graduate means he has more work experience than those of us who went to university. I looked up in surprise. It was you. With your refined features, having more work experience than everyone else. I had never thought of it that way. Your words were eye-opening, and you smiled at me, showing your teeth. Teach me a lot, Thomas. Oh, should I use polite language since you're a senior? You asked. No, we're the same age, so you don't need to. Okay then. Nice to meet you. Thanks to you, the mocking atmosphere around me changed into one of welcome. Thanks to you, I had a great time during the training session. I learned to be proud of being a high school graduate, to say it with confidence. I'm truly grateful. When I said that, for some reason, Lily's face turned bright red. Her eyes were also watery. As I tilted my head, wondering if she had drunk too much, she hastily wiped her eyes. No, compared to what you've done for me. What have I done for you? I racked my brain, trying to remember. Seeing my confusion, she laughed softly. I think it was probably just natural for you, so you don't remember. On the first day of the training session, I suddenly felt sick on the train. I was probably just nervous, but I couldn't get off because I didn't want to be late for the session. The only seat available was in the priority seating, so I took it. Then, some old man yelled at me, "That's a priority seat. Young people like you shouldn't be sitting there." I was feeling unwell and scared, and I almost started crying. That's when you stepped in and helped me. You said, "I think she's feeling unwell. Her face is pale, and even if that's not the case, there are illnesses and injuries that aren't visible. It's not right to scold someone just because they're young." Lily paused and looked at me intently. I remembered the incident she was describing. Oh yes, I do remember. Helping someone on the first day of the training session. I'm glad that old man quickly apologized afterward, but I didn't realize that person was you, Lily. She blushed and smiled shyly. After getting to know you during the training session, I learned that you were a high school graduate from a single-parent household. It made sense that you understood the various circumstances people might face. That's why you thought there might be a reason I was sitting in the priority seat. Thomas, you're someone who can empathize with others in different situations. I admire that about you. I think you're amazing. Her words made my heart race. It was the first time someone had directly told me I was amazing, and from such a beautiful woman, no less. As I struggled to find a response, I noticed Mike entering the bar. He was with a woman, but it wasn't Emily. Thinking she might be a business associate, I watched as Mike put his hand around her waist. The closeness between them was clearly not that of mere business associates. Could he be cheating? As I stared in disbelief, Mike noticed my gaze and made eye contact. He seated the woman and walked over to me. Hey, Thomas. Having a drink? That's Lily from Harbor Corporation, right? Yes. Lily, this is Mike, my boss. Nice to meet you, she said, shaking Mike's hand. Even though it was just a handshake, it made me feel uneasy. By the way, Mike, who is that woman? Oh, she's my girlfriend. Girlfriend? Did you break up with Emily? But when I was at the office today, Mike and Emily were still very much together. They didn't seem like a couple on the verge of breaking up. As I was confused, Mike laughed derisively. No way. Emily is also my girlfriend. What do you mean? You have 2 girlfriends. What's wrong with having 2 girlfriends? A man of my caliber can handle multiple women. But does Emily and this woman know about each other? This one knows, but when I told Emily, she got really angry. So I've kept it a secret from her since then. If she got angry, then stop seeing other women. Who do you really love? Both, obviously. Though I might be done with Emily soon. She's been pressuring me to get married, and it's becoming a hassle. Seeing my mouth agape, Mike smirked. If you want, I can give Emily back to you. In exchange, give me Lily. She's beautiful and has a great figure, perfect to be my girlfriend. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The anger boiled over so quickly that my mind went blank. Hey, Lily. Forget about Thomas and come to me. I'm a university graduate, my parents run a hospital, and I'm a department head. I'll treat you well. Mike reached out to touch Lily, but before I could stop him, she slapped him hard across the face. I'd rather bite my tongue than date someone as selfish as you. Leaving a stunned Mike holding his cheek, Lily paid the bill, grabbed my hand, and pulled me out of the bar. I struggled to keep up and not trip as she led me away. We emerged from the bustling downtown area into a quieter alley, and she stopped. She turned to me with a worried look on her face. I'm sorry for slapping your boss, Thomas. Mike was in the wrong. Honestly, it felt pretty satisfying. I replied with a laugh. However, she still seemed to have something on her mind. That Emily. She's your ex-girlfriend, right? Yeah, that's right. Do you still have feelings for her? Were you happy when Mike said he could give her back to you? What? No way. I hastily and firmly denied it, but she didn't seem convinced. But, she murmured, her eyes beginning to well up with tears. I didn't want to see her looking like that. I clenched my fists tightly. Really, I don't have any feelings for Emily anymore. The one I like now is you, Lily. I love how you don't laugh at me and even call me amazing. My face was probably bright red. Lily looked up at me with her tear-filled eyes wide open. A single tear rolled down her cheek. I'm so happy. I love you too, Thomas. She rested her cheek against my chest. I gently held her, making sure not to break the moment. She looked up at me, and then, almost naturally, we kissed. The next day at work, I was on top of the world. Thomas, did something good happen? Andy asked. Thinking it best not to reveal that I was dating a client, I kept it a secret and said nothing. He just said, I see, with a slight smirk and didn't ask anything further. During lunch break, I had just finished eating in the cafeteria and was heading back to work when I saw Emily coming down the hallway. Emily, I called out. She gave me a cold look. Don't call me by my name. I'm not your girlfriend. I'm Mike's girlfriend. About Mike, you should stay away from him. He's. Emily laughed mockingly at me. Oh, is that so? Are you saying this because you still have feelings for me? No, that's not it. But don't patronize me. The atmosphere suddenly grew cold. Emily was furious. I hate you acting all high and mighty just because you're a full-time employee, even though you're only a high school graduate. Looking down on me, you must have enjoyed dating someone with a higher education but lower social standing. That's not true. The name badge around her neck shook as she trembled with anger. It clearly stated contract employee, just like it did when we first started dating. Do you remember when you gave me the past exam papers for the MIS certification? She said. Her words brought back the memory. I wish I could become a full-time employee. Better pay, better benefits, and I wouldn't have to worry about getting laid off. She often muttered while staring at her contract employee badge. As her boyfriend, I wanted to support her, so I lent her my old MIS certification exam papers and my study notes. But she frowned at them, looking displeased. This is useless. What? But don't you want to become a full-time employee? Emily sighed deeply. She remained upset for a while, and it took multiple apologies and a meal at her favorite restaurant to finally improve her mood. As I recalled that memory and frowned, Emily scoffed. I was so disappointed in you back then. You took my words about wanting to become a full-time employee seriously. I wanted an easy life, but you, completely clueless about a woman's heart, handed me past exam papers. That's why I chose Mike. He'd never do something like that. When I told him the same thing, he said, "I'll take care of you." When Emily raised her voice, I couldn't say anything. She walked past me quickly. Her profile looked a bit anxious. Today was the day our company and Lily's company would sign the contract. Lily had come over for this occasion. I guided her to the reception room where I, Andy, and Mike would handle the meeting. I was worried about Mike's reaction to Lily, but it seemed my worries were unfounded. Mike maintained a professional smile with Lily. It seemed he didn't hold a grudge over being slapped. Perhaps he didn't even care about it. "Now please sign here," Mike said, handing the contract to Lily. Lily flipped through the stapled pages. Then she tilted her head. "What is this last page in English?" "Oh, we often deal with overseas companies, so we prepare contracts in English as well. The content is exactly the same as the Japanese version, so there's nothing to worry about." Lily frowned. I knew she wasn't comfortable with English. "Lily, may I take a quick look at the contract?" I stopped Lily from signing the contract, and she looked at me curiously. However, she handed over the contract without hesitation. "What's this, Thomas?" Trying to show off in front of her by finding faults with my contract. Mike interjected. Ignoring his comment, I quickly scanned the English section of the contract. I frowned. "Mike, what is the meaning of this? What are you talking about?" "The English contract states something that the Japanese one doesn't," Mike replied. "It says, 'Harbor Corporation shall henceforth comply with all directives from Mike Green of Longfield Pharmaceuticals.'" Lily and Andy both exclaimed, "What?" Mike's eyes widened as he looked at me. "Thomas, you can read English." "Mike, does your reaction mean the English contract indeed contains such a clause?" Lily glared at him. Mike hurriedly tried to cover up, forcing a smile. "Of course not. This guy has always been jealous of my prestigious university degree and pulls stunts like this. Don't believe anything he says." "No, I trust Thomas. Did you know he scored 900 on the TOEIC?" Lily retorted. "What? A 900 on the TOEIC?" Mike and Andy both reacted in shock. Lily sighed at their stunned faces. Thomas couldn't afford to go to university because he came from a single-parent household. That's why he only graduated high school, but he's smart. How couldn't you know than after working with him for a long time? I glared at Mike, who was visibly shocked. "Mike, have you been pulling stunts like this every time you signed a contract with another company? Is this how you climbed to the position of department head?" "What are you talking about? This is a misunderstanding. I just wanted to test Lily. I had no intention of making her sign it. Do you have any proof to support your claims? If not, I can sue you for defamation." "I have the proof right here," came a voice from the entrance of the reception room. It was Emily. She placed a USB on the desk with a serious expression. "All the paper documents have been destroyed, but this USB contains the data of all the contracts Mike has made so far." "What? Emily, you traitor." Mike quickly grabbed the USB from the desk, threw it to the floor, and stomped on it. "How about that? The evidence is gone now." "Mike, are you stupid? Backup is basic." Emily smirked and pulled another USB from her jacket pocket, showing it to Mike. Mike's face turned pale. "Hand that over." Mike lunged at Emily. Instinctively, I shielded her, and we both fell to the floor. Realizing he had failed to attack Emily, Mike swiftly pinned me down. "You bastard. If you hadn't come back, I could have been the director, executive director, vice president, and even the next president." Mike raised his fist. "Thomas." Lily and Emily screamed simultaneously, but Mike's punch never landed on me. I caught his hand just in time, twisting his arm and pinning him to the floor. Mike glared up at me in rage. As the reception room door quietly opened, Mr. Johnson, the president of our company, walked in. What is all this commotion? Mr. Johnson looked at me sitting on top of Mike with a puzzled expression. Mike put on a pained expression. Mr. Johnson, the truth is, Thomas added a terrible clause to the contract with Harbor Corporation. He was planning to use this contract to manipulate Harbor as he pleased. When I confronted him about it, he suddenly went berserk. Mike, isn't that what you were doing? Mr. Johnson said, making Mike freeze. I received a report from Emily about your misconduct. I wanted to believe it was a lie because I thought you were an excellent person, but I'm disappointed. Mike's whole body lost its strength. Thinking he wouldn't cause any more trouble, I released him. I'm sorry for involving you in our company's issues, Lily, Mr. Johnson said, bowing to her. Don't worry about it, Lily replied. Mr. Johnson sighed in relief, then looked at me. Despite not having been back at headquarters for long, you've not only secured a new major contract, but also uncovered misconduct within the company. As expected from you, Thomas. I had my eye on you as a potential successor for a reason. At his words, Mike, who had been hanging his head, looked up in shock. He's the successor, even though he was demoted. It must have looked like a demotion, Mr. Johnson explained. I transferred him to our branch that was performing the worst and on the brink of collapse. But as they say, a lion throws its cub into the valley of 1,000 peaks to test it. I wanted to see how he would turn things around in a challenging environment. I had my eye on his proposal skills from the beginning. Sure enough, his proposals impressed our clients, bringing new business and turning the branch into the best performing one. You were working as a manager at headquarters all this time, yet you didn't know? Mike's lips turned pale, and he started trembling. Mr. Johnson sighed deeply at him. Thomas may only have a high school diploma, but he has the ability to empathize with people more than anyone else in our industry, which involves supporting people with various health issues. His ability to connect with diverse individuals is crucial. He helped Mike to his feet, then turned to Andy. Andy, I want to hear from you too. Could you come to my office? Yes, Mr. Johnson. Then he left the reception room with Mike and Andy. The room became very quiet, leaving only Lily, Emily, and me. Thomas, I am really sorry for everything. Emily broke the silence, bowing her head to me. I was surprised to see her acting so humbly. Remember when you warned me during lunch the other day? I got curious and asked Mike if he was cheating again. Just as I suspected, he was, and he said he didn't need me anymore because I was a hassle. It was then that I realized you were looking out for me all along, not just this time, but even when you lent me those old exam questions. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she gripped her skirt tightly. Thomas, you probably know, since you've been to my house once, but my family is poor. My older brother didn't go to college because his grades were bad, so he works at a job with poor pay and benefits. That's why my parents pinned their hopes on me. They wanted me to graduate from college, get a good job, and marry a man with a promising future to secure their old age. When I introduced you to my family, they opposed it. They said a high school graduate wouldn't do, that you'd be just like my brother and couldn't be expected to succeed. But I was the fool to believe them. I thought I would be secure if I did what my parents said, but I was the biggest idiot of all. Tears from Emily's eyes made a stain on the floor. I'll start over. I'll work hard to become a full-time employee, so if I manage to become one at that time. Emily wiped her tears and stepped closer to me. However, I was pulled back by my right arm, increasing the distance between her and me. It was Lily who was firmly holding my arm. Sorry, but Thomas is mine now. I don't care if you're his ex or whatever. I won't give him up. I see. But Thomas, if you ever get tired of her, come back to me. I'll be waiting. That won't happen. Emily laughed at Lily's fierce look, waved, and left the room. Lily's grip on my arm tightened slightly. You won't get tired of me, right? Feeling affection for the worried Lily, I kissed her forehead. No, I won't. My heart belongs to you completely. With that, her grip loosened. finding her delighted smile adorable. I hugged her tightly. By the way, could you come to my house next time? I'd like to introduce you to my family. What does that mean? I'm confident that I'll love you for the rest of my life, Thomas. So in thinking about the future, I'd like you to get along with my family. All right. Then, after that, I'd like you to meet my mom too. Of course. After exchanging smiles, we hugged each other again. Mike was fired. Given that he had been falsifying contracts for years, this was a fair punishment. However, I could sympathize with him a bit. Apparently, he was supposed to become a doctor and take over his family's hospital. But after failing the medical school entrance exam, his parents disowned him. Driven by a desire to prove himself to his parents by succeeding at Longfield Pharmaceuticals, he ended up committing these acts, even without resorting to fraud. Mike had been competent since he joined the company. I hope he reflects on this and climbs the ranks the right way at his next job. I am now in the manager position that Mike vacated, but this too is only a matter of time, because Mr. Johnson seems determined to make me the next president. He is pulling strings to make me the vice president. In fact, many important projects that could significantly benefit our company have been assigned to me. I am reputed to handle them flawlessly within the high-ups, and more people are gradually supporting my appointment as vice president. Andy, watching my methods closely as my subordinate, has also been improving his sales performance. If I become vice president, he might take over as manager. Emily is studying for her MR certification exam. She kept the past exam questions and preparation notes I lent her and is using them. She is enthusiastic about making her dream of becoming a full-time employee a reality if she passes the exam. Thomas, do you have a moment during lunch break? Emily comes over after I finish eating. I nod, indicating it's fine, and she sits next to me, opening the past exam questions. I can't understand this question. Oh, this is. As I explained to Emily, the distance between us gradually closes. I try to back away, but the wall behind me prevents me from doing so. While I am contemplating what to do, a stern voice cuts in. Excuse me. Looking up fearfully, I see Lily glaring at us with a furrowed brow. She must have come because we have a meeting after this. Lily, I was just helping with her studies. I know you're not the kind of person who would cheat, so don't worry. Emily, that's my seat. So, can you move, please? Lily picked up the past exam questions with her left hand. The ring on her finger caught the light. Noticing it, Emily frowned and stood up. I won't give up until you're married. Leaving those words behind, Emily walked away. Lily, who sat next to me, let out a sigh. She's so persistent. Sorry about that. It's all right. I understand why people are attracted to you. Lily placed her hand on mine. Her warmth made me feel at ease. By the way, Thomas, the medicine you first negotiated with me is getting rave reviews from our customers. Thanks to that, our customer satisfaction has increased by not just 10%, but 20%. That's great. Well, it was expected. Yeah, I thought so too. As expected from you, Thomas. And now more clients specifically request medicine from Longfield Pharmaceuticals, so we'd like to increase our purchases from you. Understood. Let's go to the meeting room to finalize the details. Andy is waiting and ready. We stood up and walked side by side. People around us were watching with smiles. It seemed that everyone at the company knew about our relationship, but thanks to that, both our company's performances have improved, and everyone viewed our relationship positively. I felt very grateful for that. As I looked at Lily's smiling face next to me, I felt that the phrase smooth sailing described our current situation perfectly. I grew up in a single-parent household, and because we didn't have much money, I couldn't go to college. So, my highest education is a high school diploma. I've had many bitter experiences, but because of that, I learned the importance of empathizing with people and have been able to practice it. I owe a lot to Lily and Mr. Johnson, who extended their hands to me without laughing at my high school diploma. From now on, I intend to fully utilize this ability to empathize for the happiness of both the company and Lily.